against any service.
Hello and welcome to Political Arena, a program designed to discuss anything and everything about politics, those who play it, as well as those people who are watching them play the way it should or should not. I am Mana BalaGbogbo. Thanks for joining me on this edition. Today we are going to be reviewing all that happened before, during and after the elections. We're going to a short break. We'll be right back.
The time as suggested in the motion.
From 31st January to June 31st, 2023, say aye. Those against any service.
Do you know what it takes to lead? Do you understand what is politics? Do you have issues concerning the way we play politics? Do you have reservations about some political mugu? Do you want to serve or be served? Do you want to contest? Do you want to occupy any political office or be in charge of your world? All this and many more are what we discuss right here in the Political Arena, a program where we trash and arrange, condemn and commend, celebrate and blame all that play out in politics. Do not be told. Join me, Mana BalaGbogbo, every Saturday by 7 p.m. to throw more light on why we play politics the way we do and how we can play it better. Political Arena, building a government of the people and for the people. Don't miss it. Welcome back. Elections happens every 4 years in Nigeria. Nigerians get to elect presidents, governors, and national and state assembly members. And in this part of the nation, we practice democracy. 2023 was another historic year as Nigerians trooped out in large numbers to vote for their desired candidates across the length and breadth of this nation. The first was February 25th, which produced President-elect Senator Bola Tinubu and 109 senators from 36 states of Nigeria, each with 3 senators to occupy the Red Chamber and with 360 House of Representatives in the Green Chamber. On the 18th of March 2023, it was another elections to elect governors in only 28 states as 8 other states, Osun, Ekiti, Kogi, Bayelsa, Anambra, Edo, Ondo, and Imo, have off-season elections, and of course state assembly members were elected across the whole 36 states. Before the elections, many international and national observers sensitized the electorate on the importance of why the electorate must vote on elections day and of course visit their polling units. One among many was Connected Development. The Chief Executive Director Hamza Lawal told journalists why he did what he did.
I'm really pleased with the arrangement of INEC. You know, engaging the resident electoral commissioner and the PRO in their head office in Lokoja, and then coming to the local government here, witnessing the sorting of sensitive and non-sensitive material. I'm really happy that INEC have gone above board in preparing.
They commended the electorate and the INEC umpire for their roles.
I'm also happy to note that I was briefed by the resident electoral commissioner that they undertook a refresher training for all the POs and even the presiding officers. So what this means is their capacity has been enhanced, should give them benefit of doubt. From what I've seen on the ground, I'm happy, I'm pleased, and I'm glad that they have acknowledged, from not just acknowledging the gaps, they've also filling those gaps and responding adequately.
We'll, of course, gather information from across the country. We do our assessment based on international criteria that Nigeria has already signed up to.
And it's wonderful to see such joviality and such calm in the election place, procedures working well, and this is what we hope for across Nigeria.
President Muhammadu Buhari, during the presidential election, commended the INEC after he exercised his civic rights in Katsina State, his country home.
Some of them are so agitated, they didn't know that I tried 3 times. I ended up in Supreme Court 3 times. And then the 4th time I said God day and God sent technology. with permanent voters card, no fraudulent person can come and claim anything more than one vote for himself. I'm very impressed because I've seen how the people turn up.
Ex-President of Nigeria, Ebele Jonathan, Vice President Yemi Osibanjo, governors, ex-governors, party stakeholders, and candidates of various political parties also commended the INEC and the deployment of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, but made observations for better delivery.
BVAS is improvement on the corridor, and I believe it will be better than the corridor. I don't think we are moving backward. We may still have some issues. It's technology. Even your phone, there are problems with your phone. Even if you buy one of the best smartphones, sometimes you still have problems. So I'm not expecting that no country that the given machines will work perfectly, but it's a significant improvement. And at least there's an attempt to improve on the methodology. The only thing I request from INEC is that in terms of distributing materials, they should improve on that.
The Ogunrege polling booth is very peaceful. It's been conducted, in my view, very well, very professionally. I think that everything has been done right. And I hope that this is the same all across Ogun State and all across Nigeria.
There is no perfection here on earth, only God that is perfect. So I advise our people not to be looking for faults. We should embrace change and innovations towards national development.
From the last vote, the last time materials did not arrive here until late afternoon. This time materials arrived on time, I can say that. And we have voted, and voting went on very smoothly. I want to say that INEC really took our complaints into consideration, and if we are recording this kind of improvements every time, I think we will arrive at that perfect election that we all desire.
Well, it's an upgrade from what we used to have from the card reader. So it has a two-level authentication process. So from just fingerprint before, you now have facial recognition. So where fingerprints fail, you can have, as we've seen, your face uploaded, preloaded into it, and you can recognize. So, progress.
Even though this election was postponed by a week, I want to thank them for being able to resolve the issues of litigation that was surrounding voting, and also being able to reprogram the BVAS machines so that elections can hold today.
Far so good. The turnout is massive. It's impressive. The INEC has improved on the last exercise. They came out early, and the exercise have commenced. And the security are doing excellently well so far from the report I have received.
The process is on. So far, so good. Accreditation process went okay, and I wish all of us well.
No system is 100% perfect. We can score 90 here with only 10% error of margin. I think it will still be excellent. I mean, as far as the system is run by human beings, can never be 100%.
Performed my duty as a citizen of this country, and I have my own expectations. First, expectations as a Nigerian is that we are going to have a new set of leadership that is probably going to reset this country, reset the state, reset the state's houses of assemblies. That's the very first expectation that I have.
I'm expecting them to be accountable, to, put the integrity to work, for once.
I can only say that we have seen massive improvement from what we have in the last 2 weeks.
It's going on well. You are the journalists. You are the ones to tell me. But from our polling units here, it's peaceful. And I pray we'll have it peaceful all through. We can't score them now, but I believe they are doing their best.
You know what? The most interesting thing that has happened during this is the fact that women have emerged as female senators from states that hardly produced female senators. One among them is Senator-elect representing the FCT Ireti Kingbe from Labour Party, again in Adamawa, do not announced as governor-elect, but turned out the other way round. And I must tell you that she is a dogged woman. I'm talking about Aisha Binani, and I doff my hat to her. And in Taraba State, just like in Kogi State, 2 females were elected into the state houses of assembly. And to all women out there, I say, well done. But you know, other oppositions will not just sit back and watch. And of course, some of them are already approaching the court for redress. And at this moment, as we need to go on a break, when will we return, you will be meeting my guests, and together we'll be analyzing all that happened, and I mean the good and the bad, and of course the ugly of the 2023 elections. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
The time is suggested in the motion.
From 31st January to June 31st, 2023, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it.
Do you know what it takes to lead? Do you understand what is politics? Do you have issues concerning the way we play politics? Do you have reservations about some political mugu? Do you want to serve or be served? Do you want to contest? Do you want to occupy any political office or be in charge of your world? All this and many more are what we discuss right here in the Political Arena, a program where we trash and arrange, condemn and commend, celebrate and blame all that play out in politics. Do not be told. Join me, Mana BalaGbogbo, every Saturday by 7 p.m. to throw more light on why we play politics the way we do and how we can play it better. Political Arena, building a government of the people and for the people. Don't miss it. Welcome back to the Political Arena, and if you're just joining us, live with me right here in our studios is the Deputy National Coordinator, Christians Northern Nigeria Political Forum, Honorable Ibrahim Itudu. Once again, thank you so much, sir, for being with us on the program.
Thank you for welcoming me here.
The pleasure is all mine. And of course, the ever-trending topic, I don't think I will stop talking about this for some time to come, and that's the general elections. On the 25th of February, we had the presidential elections and also the senatorial elections and the National House of Assembly. And then in March, we had the gubernatorial elections in about 28 states of the country, and also the State House of Assembly. Now, in retrospect, how would you describe the general elections so far? I mean, hundreds of billions have been spent. And with all that has been spent, you know, I mean, you would want to ask yourself, was this the best, you know, that we expected? Do you think what Nigerians witnessed in this 2023 elections was, you know, was up to the expectations that, you know, the average common man in the streets out there envisaged to see and experience during the course of these elections?
Well, I want to thank you for inviting me on this platform. In overview of the general elections, from the presidential election to the state governorship elections, I want to be very blunt here, in the sense that there is no political party. I repeat, no political party at the stage of election that had advantage of rigging, advantage of doing whatever they want to do to win, that will not do it. All political parties. And that is why a lot of what we went through, those who lost elections are crying that the election was not free, fair, and credible. And I also want to sound very modest, that elections all over the world, we've not had the best of elections. In the election of the United States, the past election of
Donald Trump
and
Biden.
And Biden, you discover what happened in the US. And that is the democratic process that began about 200 years ago. You saw what they arrived at. Then let alone the Nigerian elections. You know, for me, that election was the best we can have, though with some observations. The INEC and the political parties had a role to play. And politicians that are the purview of political parties made the mess of the elections. People blamed INEC, but for me, I don't blame INEC. I blame the stakeholders. The politicians that were so desperate to win elections were the ones that manned the elections in some other places, or you have violence, you have ballot box snatching, and whatever result that was attained, and people were crying wolf. And that is why I said earlier that all the political parties having their way in the election will rig elections. But the onus lies on them to prove how elections was rigged. In fact, after the conclusion of elections, everybody is going to court. It is not about going to court. It's about correcting what actually transpired on the polling units.
But sorry to cut you short. If they don't go to court, how would they be able to correct? Isn't going to court correcting and you know, kind of improving on the process itself?
It is very, very correct to go to court. But what I'm saying is that proving the mistakes of the election is one thing. Going to court is another thing. And so it is good for people to ventilate their anger in the court of law. And in the court of law, the onus lies on you, the complainant, to be able to prove your innocence.
That's right.
Especially in the presidential election. You know, and you saw how that election went. The election is since 1979, this is the first time we're having elections from the east, or the southeast, the southwest, and the north central, northeast, and the northern forum entirely. And so the election was characterized and driven by ethnicity, religion, and sectionalism. And so we saw clearly how people were driven by their tribalistic models in the prosecution of that election. Watch what happened in the southeast. In fact, dominantly, all of them voted for Obi in the Labour Party. If you look at what happened in Kano with Senator Kwankwaso, the Hausas, dominantly in Kano, voted for him overwhelmingly. And when you go to exceptions of when you go to Southwest, it was exceptional that the Obi got votes, Atiku got votes, NMPP got votes. It was not majorly. You cannot say it was a major vote given to Ahmed Bola Tinubu and Shetima ticket. And you can see the trend of that, how the election went. And if you look at the person that has gotten the 25% of the total votes of that election, and the highest number is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because he was able to cut from all the zones of that elections, because it was not purely dictatorial on tribal basis. And so when the election was announced, the issue we had at that election was because the INEC portal, and INEC did not load the portal instantly. But do you know what happened? According to information hacked on the RF, it was that hacking that was discovered, and INEC became very careful to see how to manage that situation, to be able to offload elections, and how it will not be rigged. I think that was the issue that we had, and we have noticed that a problem with the INEC.
How sure are you?
No, that was the assumption. That was what we heard from the INEC angle. Okay, that it was hacked. But I am saying from my own point of view that the major people that has the data,
if you said it was hacked,
electronic,
wasn't it supposed to be hacked to their own advantage? Because if it was hacked and then they still were not able to win, that is at the presidential elections, don't you think that is an overreach when you make that kind of generalization?
The assumption is that when you are trying to rig a process by hacking into the process, and the onus lies on the INEC to discover what was happening, and because of the credibility of INEC, they monitored it on how they can actually transmit the correct election results, and that is why you saw what actually transpired in getting the true facts of what people voted at their various polling units. I want to take you here that if, for instance, I was in my polling unit when we were going into the election for the House of Assembly, there was a situation room in my ward, and every agent was transmitting every number that my candidate got per unit. And before they finished collation by INEC, we have gotten the winner. So if political parties are crying foul, they should hold their agents responsible. Are they not supposed to have a situation room where agents will transmit every polling unit results? And to shock you, when we were collating agent cards, you know, in the Federation we have 176 polling units thereabout. Do you know that the PDP presented the same number, 176 polling units per agent? And,
but sir, you're speaking APC, for your own polling unit. APC, because you are not in every polling unit.
I'm giving you records from INEC that not all political parties submitted enough agents to cover their polling units in the presidential election.
Of course.
Yes.
Now, and that is understandable because all the political parties are not, in terms of strength and membership, they are not properly, spread out across the country.
And especially that the Labour Party, for instance, were just coming in for the first time.
Exactly, because I remember in one of our rounds here on Malachite TV that we went, I think it was just the APC and the PDP agents that we met at the polling unit. But now let me take you on the issue of credibility of INEC. You talked about the IREF.
Yes.
The IREF, I mean, it didn't fulfill the purpose for which it was intended to do, because for which it was intended to do. Excuse me, before we continue, I want to play back what some party stalwarts and statesmen are saying about the election process. Let's watch this.
And for us who are politicians, our conduct matters a lot. And I always tell politicians that, yes, you can win election through unorthodox means, just like using violence to win elections or buying votes and so on. But when you do that, you are behaving like an armed robber or a con man. Armed robber makes money through robbery, but everybody knows that it's an armed robber. A con man makes money through deceiving people, but everybody knows it's a con man. They are not decent members of society. Politicians are supposed to be decent members of society. So we must conduct our affairs very credibly, that both our supporters, our relatives, and so on should know that politics is a clean business, and allow people to vote who they want at any level of election. My plea is, we, the politicians, the security pool, the INEC, should do the best. The whole world is looking at us.
This is a heavily populated polling unit. Some people already started getting tired and almost leaving. So I think that it's a very big problem for me. This is the polling unit for the governor of the state, and if I cannot vote till 8 minutes after 2, then it calls for worry. And I've been receiving calls from other polling units showing the same concern that the machine is either not working or is being shut down, or it's a deliberate manipulation to ensure that they lower the vote from.
Other places, people are calling me that the beavers had some issues. In some places, they malfunction. But we have reported to INEC, so I think they are taking remedial measures. I also heard reports in Etimepo local government that 1 or 2 wards there that people attempted what they used to do before, which is hijacking materials. But we have been assured by INEC that such hijacked materials will go nowhere.
Officials were found in the polling unit. I've just been moved to a new polling unit. So the exercise is going on well. I've heard reports of some disruption in some parts of the state, particularly Elisha and Atapumosa East and West. It's very unfortunate because we've been on this thing for quite a while. Our members have been driven out of their homes before the election. We thought with all the noise we've made to the security agencies to be able to ensure that people are able to cast their votes.
They vote by using a POS. So people observe it, that they just observe that people vote, they bribe there, they come here to vote, they turn back there before they move out. So that aroused then we went there and it was caught in the act. And those he has sent money to, all the documents, all the papers were in his bag. And I show you my video recording. Everybody recorded. They have been taken away and handed over to the police.
Overwhelming presence of security men and the lockdown of the city. If I were not the governor, I'm not sure I would have been able to get to my polling unit. I mean, the lockdown is extreme, so I'm appealing that it be relaxed while, the security adequate measures are taken to monitor and police people's activities, but not prevent people from getting to their polling units.
I think what happened a couple of weeks ago was a learning process. INEC tried to introduce new technology, which we all applauded. I don't know what happened with the technology. The beavers worked properly. I think person of IREV was where perhaps maybe the ball was dropped. Now, like I said, it's a learning process. It's a learning curve, and I think INEC clearly seems to have corrected whatever lapses there were or loopholes there were, and I think we're seeing much better.
The turnout is average. Attitude and conduct unbecoming of democratic ethos has been reported. We will begin to know by the close of the day how widespread these events are.
Yes, just what I was saying, that the INEC, security and politicians need to improve on their conduct in the next elections. Because when you talk about credibility, in the sense of, being clear, in terms of when the results, the results from the polling units will be transmitted live, on the IRF portal for every Nigerians to see. But in some cases, you find them, postponing collation of results in some centers. It's another thing entirely.
Yeah.
So how does that vouch for the credibility of INEC?
The hitches we discovered from INEC on the RF is normally a technical error.
But that they had enough time. Because, I was listening to, I think, a jury and an interview he had with CNN where he was, trying to blame the fact that so many polling units were uploading at the same time. But that's erroneous to me because most polling units did not start at the same time. And if they did not start at the same time, they're not going to finish at the same time. So how can you blame uploading of polling results at the same time to cause a network jam on the system that, did not allow the results to be transferable? I mean, to an average computer scientist student, that doesn't sound, sane. It's not as if everybody was uploading results at the same unit. Because from what you were saying, you're trying to blame, some of the mishap of these elections on the stakeholders. But don't you think INEC have their own fair share?
Definitely. The problem we had with the RF is a technical error from the INEC, which was not envisaged. And that is why they are having the bulk of the blame, to have not transmitted the result live for people to see. But that does not mean that the late arrival of uploading result was purposely to rig elections. Whatever transpired, thank God there are courts whatever transpired in that election, with your agent reports, with your agent card that was taken from the beavers was actually used and was useful 98%. The beaver does not have any issues. It is only the issue of transmission that had hitches, and it does not matter whatever happened at the polling unit. Since I am a political party agent and I am at the unit to ascertain the kind of result my candidate will get, I will transmit that same result. If those results were calculated and is different from what INEC has given, it's a very clear ground for them to sort it out in court. So there is no haywire. Let nobody should not be taken by surprise and crying wolf or whatever has transpired. Because what INEC, I believe so much that what INEC has transmitted from the polling units later, even if it's not immediate, are results from various polling units, and so which are glaring with the evidence of agents to be tested in court. And so with that, I don't think we have issues about whatever INEC has done or not. But the issue with INEC, this is the first time they have tested this kind of offloading of results nationally for the first time. So it is not devoid of hitches. It cannot be devoid of hitches because these are electronics. These are machines, and nobody is God. And whatever has happened in that election, let us go, since there are processes of going through who is authentically elected president, governor, or House of Assembly elections, where it will be tested. And when it is tested, whatever challenges we have in the process, it will be corrected in the forthcoming elections. I think that is the way to go.
All right, you made mention of 3 key factors. You mentioned religion, tribalism,
Yes.
and sectionalism as 3 key variables that influenced, the electoral process in 2023. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we will go on to discuss on those points with our guest. Please do stay with us.
Do you know women are adventurous, ambitious, captivating, confident, and dazzling? Do you know she's also dynamic, enigmatic, inspiring, and self-assured? Those are not all about who a woman is. She's also blessed with the wisdom to design her world. She is optimistic when she puts her mind to do anything, malleable and astute. And to crown it all, she is naive because of her total belief in anything she loves, and same time noble with her character. These and many more about a woman are what we discuss and analyze on Women's World, a program that celebrates women who have put all these attributes together to add value to their society. Be my guest together to tell your story yourself. I am a woman and I am proud to be. Join Faith Abdul-Ghaffar only on MLC TV online by 6 p.m. every Sunday for all-encompassing about who a woman is. For your contribution, comments, even to appear on the show, advert placement and sponsorship, please call any of the numbers displayed on the screen. Visit and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Malachi TV, and like our Facebook pages, MLC TV and MLC TV WW to watch our editions. Thank you.
Welcome back to the political arena. Once again, my name is Mana BalaGbogbo, and of course, with me in the studio has been Honorable Ibrahim Itudo. Once again, good to have you, sir, on the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, before we touch on those points we mentioned, we talked about religion, tribalism, and sectionalism. Now, looking at the presidential elections, wouldn't you think that all the stakeholders, including INEC, would have been able to learn one or two, from what transpired during the presidential elections, and then bring about improvements in the gubernatorial elections that, just got concluded? But especially I want us to look at Lagos now. There were a whole lot of drama in Lagos. So what are your thoughts when you look at Lagos, so to speak?
Well, you from the presidential election, you discovered that in the area of Labour Party, you saw how it was massively, they massively voted for him, in line with religion. The Christian mobilization was massive, and that is what you saw us through the winning of Labour Party in Lagos. But every election has its own dynamics. The governorship election, for instance, in Lagos took a different dimension because the aborigines of Lagos knew what they wanted. They know that the man, the Sanwo-Olu, is on ground, and the majority of them in Lagos are Yorubas. And because of what has transpired in the first election, in fact, after the presidential election, there was an intensified campaign. There was an intensified reconciliation. And the areas that Sanwo-Olu had some weaknesses, he was able to go around to ameliorate those areas. And that when that was achieved, the issue of tribalism, you know, the Igbos voting for the Igbos, Yorubas voting for the Yorubas, was
no longer at play.
Was no longer at play. That divisive attitude was broken. And so when the governorship election came, and I saw the way people massively voted for Sanwo-Olu in Lagos, I was not surprised. But nobody will ever imagine that with the transparency that was brought in, you know, INEC learned a lot of lessons through the presidential election, and they were able to correct their faults. You know, the elections of the governorship election was, you heard anybody complain of IREF and not uploading results? There was nothing like that. It was very transparent, and I'm sure because the dynamics of the presidential election was different from what we have in the state elections. That state election is more closer to the people, and the people at that level want their own people to be represented. And that is why you discover that APC overwhelmingly won Lagos.
All right, now, so quickly, let's touch on some of these key factors you
Yes.
mentioned. You talked about tribalism. Let's start with that. Because, I mean, just looking at the whole play of the electoral process in Lagos, you talked about victimization, thugs, constituting voter suppression in some particular polling units, and all other places, even across the country. What do you say?
What you saw transpired in those elections, both from presidential election
down
to the State House of Assembly, are the desperation of political parties, politicians, so to say, who are standing elections, who are stakeholders of various political parties. And this desperation is shown by, I want to win elections, no matter who odds his gods. And so, in that arena, you separate INEC from political parties. INEC have their roles in the processes of collating results, conducting elections and collating results. But political parties only aim, stakeholders or politicians only aim is to win elections. And whatever they will do to win elections was at the forefront. And so, if you were talking about tribalism in the presidential election, most essentially, you see, the Christians came up when we had a Muslim ticket of Bola Tinubu Shetima ticket to counter, and brought all vexations about this is meant to Islamize Nigeria. This is meant to bring leadership to the Muslims. This is meant to talk about Christianity. Christianity will be wiped off the space.
But was it really about that? Don't you think it was about, it was more about representation?
But now that was what was canvassed. You understand? Christians mostly canvassed that and dissuaded a lot of Christians, and immediately Peter Obi came out as a Christian presidential candidate, the agitation became more. And all Christians were now being canvassed massively, sensitized to vote for only Christian presidential candidates. And you saw the massive turnout of Christians in that election.
But
even to the
for some of these people, they will tell you that it is not because, I mean, in the course of producing this program, we get to speak to a lot of people.
Yes.
Most especially young people,
Yes.
because when you say just Christians canvassing for Labour Party, don't you think it's more of the youths? Because most of the agitations are coming from the youths
That is
who
another
are
angle.
demanding good governance.
That is another angle.
And accountability from leadership.
Yes. It's what went for Obi. Number one, a Christian movement. Number two, the youths movement. Comparing Labour to PDP and APC, that recycled politicians. If you look at PDP, APC, you look at the whole structure, they are recycled politicians over time. And that is why when Peter Obi came, with the help of the Christian movement and the youth, they said, okay, we can have a different leadership structure from the Obi scenario. And that is what moved the people, and they brought about the Obi movement to the fore of these elections. It is not about whatever has transpired. The two major factors are the ethnicity, the religious aspect, and sectionalism that has moved, and then with the yearning of the youth to have another president to be tested. And that is what you saw in the whole process of that presidential election.
Now, let's come down to the president-elect now. I saw the press statement that your coalition put forward to congratulate the president-elect. Now, for the average Nigerian out there who is watching this program, do you think that the president-elect, Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, is going to be the president for every Nigerian? Because one thing is to win elections, and after that, okay, yes, you are now the president-elect. What do you see in a Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led presidency? Is he going to be the president for everybody, or for some sections, rewarding sections, according to the breakdown that you gave to us?
Yes. My prayer for Ahmed Bola Tinubu is that he's going to be that president that God has enthroned. Bola, my greatest worry, before the emergence of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he was outwashed in so many areas. Nobody can even sell him for 1 naira if it's not for God that has enthroned righteousness. And I want to also say that whatever God has enthroned, no matter the rigging, no matter the agitation of political parties and stakeholders, the man Bola Ahmed Tinubu wouldn't have emerged if not God's allowance. Since God has given him, the Bible told me in a time that the race of leadership is not because you have the strength. The race of leadership is not because you are so intellectual. The race of leadership is not because you are the strongest. It's not about the intellectual know-how, but it's about time and chance. Time and chance has given it to Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And now, whether he is going to perform or not, give him the next 4 years. Any politician from these 2023 elections, anybody that has won elections, give him 4 years. If you refuse to perform, if you refuse to produce a dividends of democracy, you dare not come back to say you want to go back. And so what the 2023 election has given us is, I want to appreciate INEC for bringing this democracy to the people. Nobody had ever gone to the polling unit to canvass votes. But in this election, every candidate went back to their polling unit to canvass elections. And so when you win elections and you refuse to perform, you cannot come back for second term. For Ahmed Bola Tinubu, because of his antecedents in Lagos, because of his experience for the past 40 years in democratic governance, I want to believe by the grace of God that that man is going to turn things around by employing the best characters, employing the best Nigerians, employing the best competence that is needed to transform this country. Because if you refuse to look at the failures of the outgoing president, you will now begin to train in failure continuously. But when you look at the weaknesses of the outgoing leadership, it is then that you can capitalize on correcting those weaknesses, and you build on what Nigerians are complaining about. So I just pray that he, as the president-elect, will scale through the hurdles in the court process and be sworn in, and he will gather the best of Nigerians to actually
I was actually going to come to that. So
yes.
What do you see concerning all those who are going to court seeking for redress? You're quite confident that all of that is going to go down the drain.
No, it's not possible. Like I told you earlier, if agents from various polling units are armed with their credible results and be tendered in court compared to what INEC will produce, I mean, it's a clear evidence that, oh yes, what we got in the polling unit is different from what the INEC has transmitted. In that case, I'm very sure that the judiciary will prove themselves.
And that's the much we can take on the program. Thank you so much, sir, Honorable, for being with me on the program.
Thank you very much.
And I do hope, and I do hope you've had a great time with us today. And of course, coming from the Deputy Coordinator, Christian Northern Nigerian Political Forum, Honorable Ibrahim Itudu. Do join us once again, and do ensure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Malachite TV, same time next week, as we will be here to talk about politics and how it continues to affect us. For your information on appearance on our program, contributions on how to make life better, and of course, feedback, adverts, placements, and sponsorship. Even to watch our previous editions, visit our YouTube channel, Malachite TV. You can also call any of the numbers now displayed on your screen to connect with us, and you can be rest assured that we'll get back to you. And do follow us. Our Twitter handle is at MLCTV_Political Arena, and our Facebook page is MLC TV. You can reach out to me on my social media handles at Mono Soul Sings. I am Mana BalaGbogbo. See you next week, and do enjoy your weekend. God bless Kogi State, and God bless Nigeria. It's goodbye for now.
Those against any, ayes have it.